Hi, I'm Jennifer Cona. Welcome to Cona's Corner. So we've had a lot of inquiries lately about getting married after 50. So there's a lot of talk about gray divorce, meaning people after 50 getting divorced when their hair is gray, hence the term gray divorce. And of course, subsequent to that is, what about getting married after 50? It sounds great, like a new lease on life, but there are a couple of things that you want to think about. So first of all, spouses are responsible for the debts of each other. That's something that is possibly more important when you're considering marrying someone in their 50s, because they have now had a significant lifetime to accumulate debt. And you don't necessarily want to be responsible for that person's debt. You may have your own debt. You have now put kids through college potentially, and so has that potential significant other. And you may not want to be mutually responsible for those debts. You may have both recently come out of a divorce, and you may have debts and related to that, legal fees, other debts to the prior spouse, things of that nature that you may not want to take on the burden of. So those are a couple things to think about. Another thing to think about is that when you are a new spouse, you are responsible for long-term care costs of that spouse. So as you're aging with your new spouse that you've married after 50, you could be looking at being responsible for the cost of assisted living, home care, nursing home care costs, and as we know, being in the field of elder law, those are very costly expenditures that can wipe through a family in short order. So that's something to really think about. Is it necessary for you to incur that kind of burden in this new relationship such that you really need to have a marriage license between you? When it comes to blended families, you need to make sure you engage in very careful estate planning. You want to make sure that any children you have from a first marriage are going to be protected from any money that you want to leave to them. And you want to make sure that the estate planning that you do with your new spouse has protections for you if you outlive that spouse and vice versa. So you may want to have trusts that leave income to each other for lifetime so that the surviving spouse has plenty of money to live on, but that what's left goes to children of first marriages, things of that sort. Not one size fits all, as people who watch me and other episodes know, none of this is one size fits all. But you need more careful planning because it's a more complicated situation. It's certainly doable, but it needs a real careful sit down. And in some cases, you may not want to have the same attorney. In any married couple, you can have separate legal counsel. And if you don't have separate legal counsel, you need to sign off that you're agreeing to have the same attorney, because information will be shared amongst all of you. So that's another thing to think about, and your attorney will walk you through the challenges posed by that. If there's any potential disagreements among new family members in a blended family, you need to be attuned to the fact that there could be a will contest. So you will want to discuss that with your estate planning attorney, such that you possibly should be looking to avoid probate. Setting up trust, for example, so that you aren't looking at a will contest. That's another thing to just have your ear out for and make sure you talk with your attorney about that. When it comes to money, emotions, any kind of resentments that could come in, you could be looking at litigation that could be costly and time consuming and not something you want to leave your heirs with. And another area of concern is the house. So let's say you as the newly married couple buy a house together. Well, you need to consider things like who's going to live in the house when the first of you passes away, and how are you going to define those terms? How long can the second of you who survives stay in the house? What happens with the house after that? Do you want to set parameters for how long that will be? Then who's in charge of selling the house? Are you going to have a right of first refusal? Does the house need to be appraised? Who picks the appraisal, the appraiser? Who picks the broker? Who sets the listing price? All of those things. You don't want to leave that stuff to chance, because anything left to chance means there's room to fight. And that's what we really want to avoid by being very specific. Of course, we want there never to be any fights, but when you don't think about those things in advance, that's when the fighting can happen. So again, just something to really talk about. And it's not, of course, anything you're thinking about when you've fallen in love for the second time and you're so happy and you want to marry this person that you're so thrilled about. This is not top of mind. And I have to be the voice of reason, which is my job. But these are things that you really want to think about. So I hope this information was helpful, and I hope you find your next soulmate and everything is beautiful and wonderful. But in the meantime, I'm always here to protect you. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.